4:17 a.m., Mesa, Arizona. The desert was silent. Not peaceful silent, empty silent. The kind of quiet that settles over a city when something is about to shatter. A thin layer of fog clung to the ground near the irrigation canals east of town. Streetlights buzzed, that low electric hum you only notice when everything else has stopped. 3 blocks from the main commercial district, a convoy of 14 unmarked vehicles rolled through an intersection. No headlights, no sirens, no warning. Inside were 46 federal agents, FBI, ICE, DEA, 2 SWAT tactical units, and a DHS cyber response team staged in a mobile command vehicle 2 miles back. Their target was a place parents trusted, a place where children learned, a place that had operated in plain sight for nearly a decade. Pinnacle Preparatory Institute. On paper, it served 340 students, grades 6 through 12. It had a website, a PTA, annual fundraisers. The principal had been photographed with city council members. None of that was real, not in the way that mattered. If you want the full truth about what they found, hit like so this story reaches more people. At 4:22 a.m., the first team reached the rear loading dock. Thermal imaging had already confirmed heat signatures, main floor, and something below, a substructure that didn't appear on any architectural filing with the county. At 4:24 a.m., a breaching charge detonated. The reinforced steel door, disguised as a maintenance entrance, exploded inward. Agents poured through, weapons drawn, flashlights cutting through darkness. The next 11 minutes would expose a nightmare. Inside, the first floor looked exactly like a school should. Lockers lined hallways, motivational posters hung on walls. A trophy case near the main office displayed academic achievement awards dating back 7 years. Agents moved through these spaces quickly, clearing classrooms, administrative offices, finding nothing unusual. But the thermal signatures were coming from below. At the end of a corridor marked faculty only, agents located a freight elevator, not listed on any building schematic. The elevator required a biometric scan. Cyber specialists bypassed it in 40 seconds. When the doors opened, the air changed. Cooler, damper, and underneath the industrial ventilation, something chemical, something wrong. The basement level extended far beyond the footprint of the building above. Later measurements would confirm it covered nearly 22,000 square feet. It had been excavated and constructed over years. Shell contractor licenses, falsified permits, layer upon layer of deception. The first chamber agents entered contained rows of steel-framed cots, military formation. Each cot had a small bin beneath it. Personal items, toothbrushes, hair ties, notebooks filled with writing in multiple languages, signs of life, signs of captivity. In the second chamber, they found the victims. Comment exposed below if you believe corruption like this needs to be dragged into the light. 43 young women and teenage girls huddled against the far wall. Ages ranged from 15 to 22. Some were sedated, others alert but too terrified to move. Medical teams that had staged outside were called in immediately. IV lines started, vitals checked, blankets distributed. One girl looked at the agent helping her, a 17-year-old who had been reported missing from Tucson 18 months earlier. She said 4 words that would appear in the official report. "I thought you forgot." In the third chamber, agents discovered the operational heart of the network. Stacked floor to ceiling along 3 walls were vacuum-sealed bricks. Fentanyl, methamphetamine, more than 3.4 tons in total. Street value estimates exceeded $780 million. Beside the narcotics were crates of cash, bundled, labeled by denomination. Later counts confirmed $91.3 million in physical currency. But it was the fourth chamber that changed everything. This room was smaller, climate-controlled, filled with server racks, encrypted communication terminals, a digital command station that would take cyber analysts weeks to fully decode. On one screen, frozen mid-operation at the moment of the breach, was a logistics dashboard. Real-time tracking of 14 active transport routes: Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Southern California. Each route was color-coded by cargo type: blue for narcotics, red for human beings. And at the top of the screen, authorizing every movement, was a single encrypted signature, a name agents recognized immediately: Director Margaret Caldwell, Superintendent of Maricopa County Public Charter Oversight. Type yes if you're ready to see how deep this corruption goes. 9:14 a.m. FBI Regional Cyber Forensics Lab, Phoenix. The servers recovered from Pinnacle Preparatory were imaged within hours of the raid. What analysts found inside would rewrite the scoop of the investigation entirely. The operation had a code name: Project Stillwater. It was not a school. It was a front, a perfectly designed shell that existed to launder money, move drugs, and traffic human beings across state lines while appearing to educate children. The financial architecture was meticulous. Pinnacle Preparatory received $4.3 million annually in public education funding. That money was funneled through a network of 17 shell corporations, names designed to look legitimate: textbook suppliers, technology consultants, transportation services, food service contractors. None of them provided real services. All of them existed only to receive payments and redirect funds. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Belize, Cyprus. From there, the money was converted into cryptocurrency, layered through privacy coins, redistributed to cartel-controlled accounts in Mexico. The cartel in question was the CJNG, Jalisco Cartel New Generation, one of the most violent and sophisticated criminal organizations in the Western Hemisphere. But Project Stillwater was not a cartel creation. It was a partnership, a joint venture between organized crime and public officials who had the access, authority, and ambition to make it invisible. Director Margaret Caldwell had served in education administration for 23 years. She had testified before the state legislature on school safety. She had been quoted in newspaper articles about protecting children from online predators. And for the past 9 years, she had personally approved every operational license, every inspection waiver, and every funding allocation that allowed Pinnacle Preparatory to exist without scrutiny. Her encrypted signature appeared on 1,247 documents recovered from the servers: authorization codes for shipment routes, approval stamps for facility expansions, digital handshakes with cartel logistics coordinators operating under aliases. She had not been bribed. She had not been coerced. She was an architect. One analyst, a 12-year veteran of federal cyber investigations, stared at his screen in silence. Then he said something that would be repeated in briefings for months after. This is not corruption. This is command-level collusion. She didn't just look the other way. She built the road. If this shocks you, hit like now. And this was only the beginning, because the servers also contained references to 6 additional facilities operating under the same model in neighboring states. 6 more schools, 6 more basements, 6 more pipelines feeding the same machine. Project Stillwater was not an operation, it was a franchise. The next 48 hours saw the largest coordinated federal action against institutional trafficking in American history. Day 2, Phoenix Federal Command Center. A digital map filled an entire wall. Across it, dozens of red markers pulsed: Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Southern California. Each marker represented a confirmed target linked to Project Stillwater: schools, warehouses, private residences, shell company offices, border crossing points. Operation designation, Stillwater collapse. The task force assembled for this phase included over 1,400 federal personnel, FBI, ICE, DEA, DHS, SWAT tactical units from 4 states, air support from Customs and Border Protection, a naval intelligence liaison monitoring shipping traffic through the Gulf of California. The targets were struck simultaneously at 5 a.m. In Tucson, agents raided a charter school called Desert Horizon Academy. The building had been closed for renovations for 7 months. Inside, they found no construction. They found a fully operational drug packaging facility, 14 workers who had been told they were processing pharmaceutical supplements. 2.1 million fentanyl pills were seized. 3 supervisors connected to CJNG Logistics were taken into custody. In Albuquerque, a residential care facility for at-risk youth was breached. The facility had received state funding for 6 years. Its director had won a community service award the previous spring. In the basement, agents recovered 26 young women being held for transport to California. Medical examinations later confirmed systematic abuse, forced drug dependency. In Las Vegas, a commercial warehouse registered to a catering company was found to contain a sophisticated tunnel entrance leading toward the Mexican border. The tunnel stretched nearly half a mile underground. Tire tracks, drag marks, discarded packaging for narcotics. Agents estimated it had been operational for at least 3 years. Comment justice if you believe these agents deserve our support. In San Diego, a nonprofit organization that provided English language services to immigrant communities was identified as a recruitment front. Staff members would identify vulnerable individuals, promise employment or educational opportunities, then facilitate their transport to Project Stillwater facilities, where they became captives. In Phoenix, Director Margaret Caldwell was arrested at her home at 5:33 a.m. She did not resist. She did not speak. She was dressed for work. By noon, the operation had yielded 89 arrests, 127 trafficking victims recovered, over 4.2 tons of narcotics seized, fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, $114.7 million in assets frozen, connected to the network. The scale was unprecedented. The damage to cartel infrastructure was catastrophic, but investigators knew they had only scratched the surface. The deeper they looked, the worse it became. Forensic teams examining the seized servers found something that extended far beyond Margaret Caldwell. Project Stillwater had compromised law enforcement at multiple levels. In Maricopa County alone, 17 officers were identified as having received payments, totaling over $1.9 million through shell company disbursements. Their roles varied. Some provided advanced warning of inspection schedules. Others altered patrol routes to avoid transport corridors. A few had actively participated in the movement of victims between facilities. One deputy, a 14-year veteran with commendations for community service, had personally escorted 3 transport vehicles across county lines on dates that matched server logs. When confronted with the evidence, he said nothing. His attorney requested a plea negotiation within hours. In the state education department, 4 mid-level administrators were found to have approved fraudulent vendor contracts that funneled money into Project Stillwater accounts. They had done so for years, without question. Their email records showed they had been coached exactly what language to use, what boxes to check, what questions not to ask. One administrator, when arrested, told agents she had suspected something was wrong for almost 2 years. She had not reported it. When asked why, she said, "I have a pension. I have kids. I convinced myself it wasn't my business." That phrase appeared in multiple interviews. Not my business. It had become a shield, a way of looking at obvious warning signs and choosing to see nothing. Share this so more people understand how systems fail. But the most disturbing revelation came from the analysis of internal communication logs. Project Stillwater had maintained a parallel oversight structure, a shadow system that monitored legitimate law enforcement activity and adjusted operations in real time. When raid schedules were filed, the network knew within hours. When inspections were planned, facilities were sanitized in advance. When investigations got too close, assets were moved, trails were erased. The system was not reactive, it was predictive. It had been designed by someone who understood exactly how federal agencies operated and where their blind spots were. That someone was not Margaret Caldwell. She was a facilitator, a gatekeeper. The true architect of Project Stillwater remained unnamed in the recovered files, referenced only by a code name, the conductor. Analysts believed the conductor operated from outside the country, possibly within CJNG's senior leadership structure. But the sophistication of the operation suggested someone with intimate knowledge of American institutional systems, someone who had studied how trust was built, how oversight functioned, and how to exploit both. The search for the conductor would continue for months, but the immediate priority was clear: dismantle everything that remained. What agents uncovered in the following weeks painted a picture of systematic exploitation on a scale that defied comprehension. Project Stillwater had operated for approximately 9 years. During that time, conservative estimates suggested it had trafficked over 800 individuals across state lines. The majority were young women and teenage girls, recruited through false promises of education, employment, or immigration assistance. The narcotics pipeline had moved an estimated 12 tons of fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine into American communities. Street-level distribution connected to Project Stillwater supply chains was linked to over 2,400 overdose deaths in Arizona alone. The financial network had laundered more than $1.8 billion through educational funding streams, shell corporations, cryptocurrency exchanges. That money had funded cartel operations across 3 countries, purchased influence at every level of local government, and all of it had been hidden behind the most trusted institution in any community, a school. If you believe stories like this need to reach more people, hit like now. Parents had dropped their children off at buildings that served as fronts for international criminal enterprise. Teachers had worked in facilities with hidden basements they never knew existed. Inspectors had approved permits for construction projects that were never built. Elected officials had posed for photographs with administrators who were actively coordinating human trafficking. The system had exploited something fundamental about how communities function. We trust schools. We trust educators. We assume that institutions serving children have been vetted, monitored, and held accountable. Project Stillwater weaponized that assumption. It understood that the best place to hide something monstrous is behind something innocent, and for nearly a decade, it worked. The aftermath of Operation Stillwater collapse extended far beyond arrests and seizures. In Arizona, the state legislature launched emergency hearings on charter school oversight. New requirements for facility inspections, financial auditing, and background verification were fast-tracked through committee. Governor Raymond Torres called it the most significant reform to educational accountability in state history. In Washington, federal agencies began coordinating on new protocols for identifying institutional fronts. The FBI established a dedicated unit focused on what they termed trust-based infiltration, the use of schools, churches, hospitals, and nonprofit organizations as cover for criminal enterprise. For the victims, recovery would take years. Many had been held for months or years, systematically isolated from family, subjected to psychological manipulation, and in many cases forcibly addicted to drugs to ensure compliance. Specialized treatment programs were established to address their specific needs, but the trauma they carried would not dissolve with time alone. For the communities affected, the questions would linger even longer. How did this happen here? How did no one notice? How do we trust again? Those questions have no easy answers, but they point towards something important. Comment your thoughts below if this story makes you question what's hiding in plain sight. Power does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it operates through silence, through paperwork, through systems that appear legitimate because no one thought to look beneath them. The cartels understood that. They understood that the most effective infiltration is the one that never triggers suspicion. They understood that a school with a good reputation is more valuable than a warehouse with armed guards. They understood that trust is the ultimate cover, and they exploited it until federal agents kicked down a door at 4:17 a.m. and found 43 young women who had been waiting for someone to remember they existed. This story is a warning. It is a reminder that the institutions we trust most are also the institutions most vulnerable to exploitation. It is a reminder that oversight is not a bureaucratic inconvenience. It is a safeguard against exactly this kind of systematic abuse. It is a reminder that silence, when faced with obvious wrongdoing, is not neutrality. It is complicity. The fentanyl that moved through Project Stillwater killed thousands of Americans. Sons, daughters, parents, friends. Each one a life ended, a family shattered, because a pipeline remained operational for 9 years while people who should have noticed chose not to look. The young women held in those basements lost years of their lives. Some will never fully recover. They were not statistics. They were human beings with names and futures that were stolen from them by a system designed to treat them as cargo. And the officials who enabled it? The directors and administrators and officers who signed the documents and looked the other way? They did not think of themselves as criminals. They thought of themselves as professionals doing their jobs, checking boxes, following instructions, collecting paychecks. That is how systems fail. Not through dramatic betrayals, but through small accommodations, through the quiet decision to not ask questions, through the comfortable assumption that someone else is handling it. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this investigation. If you are still watching this, you understand why these stories matter. You understand that awareness is the first line of defense against exploitation. You understand that every time a story like this is told, it becomes harder for the next operation to hide in plain sight. If you want to support the work of agents who put their lives on the line to rescue victims and dismantle these networks, tap like so this reaches more people. If you believe that corruption at every level needs to be dragged into the light, comment the word expose below. Share this video before it disappears, before algorithms bury it, before the next operation sets up shop in another trusted building in another unsuspecting community. And remember this, the story is fictional, created for dramatic storytelling. But the systems it describes, the exploitation, the infiltration, the weaponization of trust, these are real challenges that communities face every day. A question is not whether it can happen here. The question is whether we are paying enough attention to stop it. Because somewhere right now, in a building that looks safe, in an institution that seems legitimate, something else might be happening beneath the surface. Something that will only be discovered when federal agents arrive at dawn, when doors are breached, when hidden chambers are finally exposed. Stay alert, stay informed, and never assume that a building with a flag and a sign is what it claims to be. Because sometimes the nightmare is hiding behind the most trusted door in town. If you believe justice is worth fighting for, hit like one more time. Comment truth if you want more stories like this. And subscribe so you're here when the next investigation breaks. The fight continues. The networks adapt. The conductor is still out there. And the next raid could happen tomorrow.